I had been working in a bookstore right after high school, and I met somebody from the local science fiction club, and he invited me to one of their meetings. And this was like 1968, and I walked into the room, and there were like 22 guys and me, which I did not know what to do with at that age. You know, it was like wasted on me. Today, I would know. But now, of course, there would be 11 girls and 22 guys, or, you know, some more even number. And then I grew up and got married and decided that I would like put away childish things, which is a mistake. It's like Ray Bradbury has a speech about how at about age 13, some, quote, friends convinced him that comic books were kid stuff, and he like burned his collection, and then a month later woke up and said, "Oh God, what have I done?" Well, it took me a little longer to wake up. I was like 33 when I came back to science fiction and realized that this is really going to be my home here. As a writer, I really appreciate fandom because it's an opportunity to find out what I've done. When I write a book, I write it, there's the words on the page, but what's on the page is just ink. Where the book happens is inside the reader's head when they read the words. They take those words and they transmute them through addition from their own personality back into this wonderful, you know, daydream vision. And so I never get to see, it's like being a deaf composer. You know, you can write your symphony, but you can never hear it played. So I write my story, but I can never see exactly, you know, how it's playing out in somebody's head. But when I get to talk to a fan, when a fan comes up to me and kind of reflects back some little piece of my work at me, then I get, you know, sort of the strain of the music in the distance, some sense of what it is I've accomplished as an artist.
Do you have a favorite fan story?
Let's see. Well, I do, I think. I've gotten some very interesting fan letters. One of which was from a blind fan in Kentucky who responded, I think, to Falling Free, as a matter of fact, and to the Quaddies. And he identified with them in a lot of ways because he has problems with an uncooperative environment as well, although he's a marvelous, marvelous person. And he sent me, he was clearing out his tape collection, and he sent me a Steel Eye Span tape with a song on it that inspired the novella Labyrinth. You know. So I got back from that fan a story idea that turned into a story that went out and won the Analog Readers Poll subsequently. You know, and I can thank him for it. So it's not a one-way thing. You know, they give back, and they give back enormously sometimes.
Not all feedback is so positive. The ultimate fan horror story is Stephen King's Misery. If you rent the movie version, pick up the King of Comedy at the same time. Actually, Stephen King started out in fandom writing a fanzine called Castle Rock, but now he avoids conventions altogether. Not because he hates hotel food or he'd rather spend the weekend writing another novel, but because the word fan comes from fanatic. Mr. King, I have every book you've ever written. Could you autograph them for me? And for my friends, and, you know, for anyone I might meet one day, make this one to Chabon, spelt the way it sounds. And sign this one, all my best, your best friend ever, Stephen King. And sign both copies of The Stand for me, because, you know, I might want to sell one. I didn't really like your last few books, but, well, I'll sign them anyway. And this one is for my pen pal in Tokyo. So, like, could you write, like, a haiku poem, you know, something funny, though. And sign this one backwards, because Grandma's dyslexic. And then this one has a lot about, if you could just do each chapter.
You see, this is where I get into trouble. Now I say the things that invariably damn me. I despise the audience. I despise the audience. When that was published in an interview with me last year, a writer named Tim Sullivan got so crazed behind it. You know, I barely met them. I knew him, I guess I met him once. He wrote an entire essay about how dare I talk about my audience that way. My fans are, you know, and there are writers who do that. They suck up to their fans, you know. Oh, I love my fans. They're wonderful. Well, they may need that. I don't. I am an adversary to my fans. I hate the word fans, to my readers. I'm their adversary. I'm not there to make them feel good. I'm not there to win their approbation. I don't give a damn whether they love me. What I want is for the work to go at them and savage them. I want my work to come at them and attack them. I want my work to leave them with some feeling that they have been through an experience. That's what I want. When someone buys your book, that's what they get for the money. They don't get a piece of you. People come up to me and they say, sign my book, I buy all your books. I said, well, then you got all my books, don't you? And I close them and I hand it back to them. Don't whip guilt on me, mother. I'm an expert at it. You got the book. That's what you paid the $3.95 or the $25 for, because you thought you were going to get your money's worth. If you hadn't, in a shot, you'd have taken that book back to the bookstore and gotten your money back. Or you'd be coming in here telling me what a dog I am. So don't come up and tell me how much I owe you and how I have to sign your damn book because you bought one of mine. Come up like a person and say, I like your work. Could you spare a moment to sign my book? But they don't. You're supposed to sign. And if you don't sign, you're a bad guy.
Attention, convention goers. Harlan Ellison will be autographing people's stomachs with a penknife in the hospitality suite. Actually, Harlan wrote the introduction to Neil Gaiman's Sandman collection, Season of Mists. When Neil was touring to promote the Sandman comic book, my friends in Control gave him a lift to the Silver Snail comic store in Toronto. And we'll be showing footage of that in the convention screening room right now.
Oh, fans are lovely. They turn up. The ones I can't believe are the ones who wait for 5 hours in line and get to the end of the line and everybody's frazzled and they say, I don't actually want anything signed. I just want to say that you're doing a very good job. You know. But I get given things. I mean, this is something that I was given. His sister was actually on the cover of the last Sandman. Sandman 40 had a little death doll that was given to me by the people who made this one in San Diego last year. And they were so pleased that their work was made famous that they did another one and gave him to me in LA. He's got a little Sandman helmet, too. Hold on, hold that. Good. Let's see if I can find the little Sandman helmet. It actually goes on him. It's quite wonderful. Oh. Oh, there we go. There we go. Little Sandman helmet. Little Sandman helmet goes on Little Sandman doll. Don't try this at home. Who's that? You?
I don't have any artwork for you, but I do have a Barbie whistle flashlight. I brought this from Philadelphia for you.
I've never had a Barbie whistle flashlight
I don't think
before,
most people have, but...
I'm going to treasure it.
Okay. If you would.
Who's it for?
Patty. P-A-T-T-Y. Ironically, I'm here visiting a friend of mine that I met through through the Sandman letter column, actually.
Really?
Yes. He should be coming up later. He was a laggard. He didn't camp out.
This is so funny. I've started asking people, you know, how they started getting into Sandman. I'm coming to the conclusion now that Sandman is actually more and more these days sexually transmitted.
So protect your comics with plastic bags. Attention, convention goers. In the Gamma Room, fans can hear the fan guest of honor speaking to his fans on fandom. Is it too introspective? And in the Batcave, several comic creators will talk about the close communication connecting comic creators and consumers.
I mean, as far as fans are concerned, I mean, I was a fan. I mean, I was that guy who came up and said, can you sign this for me, please? And so I never forget what it feels like and how crushed you can be as a fan if a professional is kind of offhand you. I suppose one of the sort of sweetest things that ever happened to me was probably the first convention I went to in America, and this gang of kids latched onto me, and they loved the Green Lantern and stuff I was doing for DC, and they were nice kids, and I did them some drawings, and they seemed to think I was the greatest thing that had ever walked the earth, which, you know, isn't a bad thing to feel. And I went to dinner that night with some other professionals in the restaurant of the hotel, and I was, you know, eating dinner, and suddenly a waiter brought to the table this huge kind of cocktail that was all green and had, you know, umbrellas and everything on it, and ice cream and everything. And I said, what's this? And he said, these gentlemen wanted you to have a drink, but they couldn't buy you a beer. And it was these three fans standing outside the restaurant waving at me, and they'd sent me a kiddie cocktail. And, you know, that was just great. I mean, that is kind of very, very touching.
Actually, seeing as most of my stories seem to be about drinking, or I involved drinking at some point, which I think is probably because I like writing dialogue so much, and a pub is a classic social situation where you're going to get a lot of people talking, and I like to try and catch as much of that as possible. Hence, most of my characters go and get hammered at some point. A lot of the people who are into my books have come along to signings and things and dumped a six-pack on the table as a kind of gift, which is, you know, keep it up, lads. The more the merrier.